Hello, this is Casey from the Local History and Genealogy Department at the Covington branch here in Kenton County Public Library. If you don't know, March is Women's History Month, and to celebrate that, we're going to explore a little bit of the Margaret Strebel Hartman Collection. Margaret left a lot of her compiled research on genealogy and Northern Kentucky history to the department here a couple years ago. So I'll talk a little bit about her life, how she got into genealogy and research, and then a couple of cool records that you can be found in that collection itself. Margaret was born August 17, 1924 in Pendleton County, Kentucky, to Henry and Bertie Strebel. In 1915, the family moved to Newport, and she eventually graduated from Newport High School in 1942. On November 19th, 1948, she married Robert Hartman. And on January 2nd, 1991, she died and was laid to rest in Peach Grove Cemetery. Margaret herself was self-taught in genealogy research. She had a love for history. If you read her obituary, the eulogy sort of says, anybody that knew her, she loved history, but she especially loved Northern Kentucky history. She eventually became a member of the Northern Kentucky Historical Society and the Christopher Guest Historical Society as well. Margaret documented the history of the first fire department in Campbell County. She was pretty well known for that in this area. And in addition to her collection here, she also has some of her papers donated to NKU's University Archives and also to the Campbell County Historical Society as well. So a lot of her work is kind of spread out throughout the Northern Kentucky area for research purposes. Something that I was kind of thinking about when I was learning more about Margaret is that she was self-taught, and I think it's a really good testament to that you don't have to have an extensive educational background to become an expert or really learn more about genealogy. I think a lot of patrons can sometimes come into the department and be intimidated by, the archives itself or all of the reference materials we have or some of the online databases. But what we can learn from Margaret is that, you can start from anywhere and pick up skills as we go along. And I think, people doing genealogy research don't kind of realize that it's really as rigorous as any kind of academic background research itself. You need to have, proofs to make connections of family members, verify, timelines and dates for different people in your family. So it is, a lot of extensive research and making connections like you would in any other kind of academic research. So I thought that was kind of interesting to learn more about Margaret and how, she over time really became an expert herself through her own research and being self-taught. So the bulk of Margaret's collection over her lifetime focused on Northern Kentucky history, as I mentioned. And in the collection here itself, a lot of that material pertains to early Boone County. There's some material on the Covington Hospital during the Civil War and a couple of other topics as well. So for patrons, I think the most pertinent material in the collection would be some of her research compiled on Linden Grove Cemetery. A lot of that is cross-referenced in Genki and some of our print material as well. But one collection I thought was kind of interesting was she compiled a listing of Civil War burials in Linden Grove. And again, some of this can be found in Genki as well, but the actual collection is all compiled in one area. So if you don't really know a name of something you're looking for, but you just want to look up the names themselves instead of trying to search through different random names in Genki, all those are going to be found in this listing here that she compiled. So this can be found in the archive collection here. And just quickly to go over a couple other materials I thought were kind of interesting from her work. She has some material pertaining to the Covington Hospital during the Civil War. This was a listing she sent away of all the Civil War area hospitals in Covington and Kenton County during that time period. So if you're doing any kind of research on that, this might be a place to take a look that you weren't sure about. Let's see. Again, she also did some genealogy for other people when she joined the Historical Society. This was some correspondence that's compiled over Tanner Station in Boone County. So again, she didn't just focus on Kenton County, she also kind of went over the whole Northern Kentucky area. And again, this is some correspondence with someone she was doing research over for another person she knew from the Historical Society. And lastly, this is the Western Baptist Theological Institute in Abstract from Deeds. So again, some research she compiled over the Western Baptist Theological Society. So again, material that you might not know about unless you're trying to search specifically in the archive. So she did collect kind of a wide variety of material, not just, genealogy research, or not just, historical, like markers and things like that, which is also included in the collection. She kind of had a whole breadth of areas that she was interested in, so we kind of featured that in the collection itself. So hopefully, if you're trying to do some kind of research on a topic that I mentioned, or maybe more interested in her life, her collection is here at the archive to take a look at. Her finding aid for that collection can be found online, and we also have a book at the front desk if you're ever interested in taking a look at any of the archive collections here. Before I go, I just want to give a quick shout out that coming up in April, we're back to our Northern Kentucky History Day, April 22nd. I had to remember really fast what day it was, April 22nd. We haven't been able to do that for a while due to circumstances, so we're really excited to bring that back. So hopefully you'll save the day for that as well. And that's all for me today, so have a great rest of your month.